Hello, on May 5th, Yerevan City Council elections will be held. Representatives of Transparency International Anti-Corruption Center, together with Europe in Law Association, accomplished observer mission during the presidential elections. They will be continuing doing this on May 5th as well, on Yerevan Council Elections Day. We are talking now with Deputy Director of Transparency International Anti-Corruption Center, as well as we are joined here by lawyer, attorney, photojournalist Sara Anjargolian, who is a diasporan who moved to work and live in Armenia. Sona, you have huge experience in this field. You were observer during the presidential elections, and you are from an organization that is very involved in making this happen, having observers at the precincts during the whole day, there every single minute to observe what is happening. What is the importance you see in doing this sort of work?
In Armenia, elections are always accompanied by gross violations, which are various and which vary from vote buying, use of administrative resource, ballot stuffing, intimidation of voters, falsification of results, and these processes they impede the conduct of free and fair elections in Armenia, and they put under question the legitimacy of the elected officials. So they do not really represent the people. They are not elected by the will of people, and they are not accountable to the people, but they are instead accountable to the oligarchs, to the criminal powers who are helping them to come to the power. And these processes do not allow Armenia to develop democratically. And we feel that there is a responsibility of each citizen to take part in the process of democratization and monitor the elections, to view, to observe the elections. And during previous elections, during presidential elections, we realized how important is an observation mission and how important, how big difference it can make. Our representatives were included in the mission of European Law Association, and we observed elections in District 17 in Ararat Mars. And we compared the results of monitors of the precincts where there was monitoring by our organization on European law and our colleagues from other human rights organizations. We see that about 170 precincts that we observed, we see how much is the difference between the results of those precincts compared to other precincts in the country. For example, the turnout was 55% as compared to 60-something record for the country. Incumbent President Serge Sargsyan received 38% of votes against 53% of votes of Rafi Hovhannisyan. Also, one of the observers engaged in this mission was our intern, Narine Ismaili, a 21-year-old lady from the US who came to do internship with our organization. And she witnessed a rudest violation throughout the country, and she was, together with her colleagues, she was physically assaulted, and when she was trying to prevent ballot stuffing in one of the precincts in Artashat. Later on, a criminal case was opened by Special Investigative Service, and then it was the turn of investigators to intimidate Narine and to blackmail her. And this blackmailing still continues, but she demonstrated her braveness, and she basically showed an example of a conscious citizen who doesn't tolerate fraud, doesn't tolerate injustice, and tries to contribute to the democratic development of her country. And this example gave us an idea to engage not only observers from throughout the country, but also call for diaspora participation in observation of elections in Yerevan City Council.
Sara, being a diasporan Armenian who moved to Armenia and having this whole experience and vision in a way, how do you see the importance of having people from diaspora being volunteers on the day of Yerevan City Council elections and being there to observe and register whatever is happening, any sort of election fraud that is happening throughout the day?
I'm really glad that Sona brought up the example of Narine Ismaili, because so many of us were extremely inspired by her story. As she said, a young 21-year-old diasporan Armenian arriving to Armenia and through her story, really encouraging the rest of us to participate as monitors in the upcoming election. The will of one young woman basically created a situation where the Artashat 17.5 was the only polling place in all of Armenia to be annulled. In other words, the votes from that polling place were not counted, and it was really very much the work of this one young woman. So on the heels of that example, many of us who are living and working here in Armenia, diasporans who have repatriated and are living here, we got together, and about approximately 8 of us decided to encourage our fellow diasporans living here and working here to join the ranks of Transparency International and to monitor the upcoming Yerevan elections. Of course, we were already thinking about this because of what we saw with Narine Esmaili, and then it was an amazing coincidence, or maybe it was fate, that then Transparency International put out this call really encouraging the diaspora to get involved. And so the 8 of us got together, and within a seven days of calling and emailing, we already have a list of about 100 people that we're going to add to the list that Transparency and their colleagues are putting together. We think of this really not so much just about May 5th, it's really a process. It's a process of education for diasporans to learn about the process, to participate in this process. And with that education and knowledge from the May 5th election, we can then also be ready for parliamentary elections, for the next presidential election. Exactly. So that's what we're really looking forward to.
On the day of the elections, what are the roles the observers are playing? What do they have to make sure they are seeing, registering to prevent election fraud, ballot stuffing, and things like that? What are the skills a person needs to be an observer?
An observer needs to be attentive. They need to know the law, at least the parts that relate to the electoral process, voting process, their rights and responsibilities. They need to be equipped with video cameras in order to record the process, because the last experience during presidential elections showed that recording on videotaping it is very important in order to file complaints later on. They need to be brave, of course. They need to be not afraid of intimidation, not only by the street authorities, but also by the representatives of the electoral commissions, or policemen, or investigators, which unfortunately takes place. And we are going to organize training for those observers so that they go through a test, which is going to be commissioned by the Central Electoral Commission, taken by them, and they will be taken accreditation of observers in order to serve as observers. And we are going to have 2 persons in each precinct together with our colleagues, so that they help each other, because it's very unfortunate that one person in one precinct is not enough to prevent violations. So you need to be with 2-3 persons at least to observe the process properly, also to have opportunity to view outside the precinct, because really a lot of processes you can observe outside as well.
Sara, you referred that there are around 100 people who are willing to do this. Now, what is their age group? What are their professions? What is their background? How did you find them in a way?
You know, from young all the way to older people, all types of professions. We have artists and professional people like lawyers and doctors, all types of people who are currently living and working in Armenia who were willing to participate. I would like to add that of our 100 people, 10 are coming from the diaspora. They are not people who live here. They've decided to come and join our group. And what we really would like to do for May 5th, as well as for the future, is encourage our diaspora organizations. We want to encourage our diaspora organizations to think about organizing in their local communities. Imagine if there was each local diaspora community from the US to South America and Europe and, you know, in all parts of the world were to organize 10, 20, 30 people. Imagine that, 10, 20, 30 people for each election. This is really the beginning. We see this as a process of trying to encourage the diaspora to become even more involved in the elections and to begin educating ourselves on that process. So that's the kind of vision that we're going for. And by the way, not just as observers, you know, our diaspora organizations can send journalists. People can come as certified journalists and can be, if they're certified journalists, they can be in polling places all day and they have the right to photograph and videotape. So that's also another way to do it. And of course, you know, most diasporans will come to Armenia once a year or maybe once every 2 years. So wouldn't it be great if we started a movement where people started to organize their trips to Armenia around the elections and to, you know, do the tour and touristic stuff, but also
to have an impact.
To have an impact, yeah, be part of the process, educate yourself on the laws in your homeland.
When you have someone from outside the country or someone who moved here and lives here 5, 6, 7 years, they present a much bigger fear to those election commissions. Do you think something like that?
From now on, I think they will think like that, and they will be scared because I think it was a big
especially having Narines case.
Having Narines case and having the U.S. Embassy's support for its citizens, so it made a difference, of course, and the Commission representatives will be more cautious, I think. But in general, yes, when you have international observers and when you have local observers, the behavior of the Commission members changes to some extent, though I think when they get order to do falsification, they do not stand, I mean, they do not, it doesn't, nothing
especially the observer is there the whole day, so you can't just pretend you are doing everything in the right way for 15 minutes and then they are gone. But if they are there the whole day, it's much harder to accomplish all your goals and still be.
Yes, and actually during previous elections, Yerevan City Council elections, in our precinct, one of the observers was international observer from the U.S. Embassy, and in front of U.S. Embassy representatives, the commission members of the Electoral Commission, they just took a pile from one candidate and put it on the other's pile, which was witnessed by everyone, and they didn't stop them. The presence of observers, neither of locals or internationals, prevented them from doing this. So I think if they have a target to provide this many votes, they will not
take into account.
Yes, they will not do that.
If someone is watching us and wants to be an observer on that day, either from diaspora or they are locals, what is the process they can go through?
Okay, first they need to contact our organization at info@transparency.am and let us know about their intention, and that this needs to be very quickly because we have certain deadlines. So I would suggest them to do that by 10th of April, and later on we will take care of their training, of their certification process and allocation in the respective precincts together with partners.
Great, thank you. I wish you all the good luck with whatever you have in your mind for that day. Thank you for talking with us about all this. This was The Angle on CivilNet. Thank you for following us.